Alright, first off, as you can see, I'm going to be switching out the ultimate weapon for Oblivion and taking off one of the Omega Arts. The reason why is because I want to portray this battle in its entirety, and I discovered that using the ultimate weapon and these equips simply doesn't convey the true level of challenge that you'll face with this final opponent. He's in the Platinum match, this one right here, which is open, I believe, from around after you seal the Hollow Bastion keyhole. It's accessible then as soon as the Hades Cup becomes available. But even though it's more, even though it's easier to get to than Ice Titan, it's definitely, in my opinion, this is the hardest battle in the game. And I'm not saying that he's easier in any way, and that's why I've taken off the ultimate weapon. It's because I want to show you all the stages of the fight and the typical level of challenge that you'll face during a standard match with him. Because most people are not going to go out of their way to alchemize everything and reach such a high level as I have at level 68. So this is Sephiroth. He's the final boss of Final Fantasy VII, the main antagonist. He's pretty well known for that. And he's the final optional challenger in this game, really. He's the strongest. He also appears in Kingdom Hearts 2, where he's also the strongest challenger, but the strategy is quite different. Anyway, this is a very long, complicated fight with 3 big stages, and I'm going to be explaining each to you, starting with the first, obviously. So really, it starts off simply enough. What you really have to do is jump over Sephiroth's sword or roll around his blade. It's easier said than done, but with the high jump, and with a little bit of gliding to time your movements, you can land right next to him, and then hit him with a combo. Vortex, that little thing that helps you close in on him, close the distance with your Keyblade, actually makes a big difference in this battle. So make sure you have that equipped, as well as, of course, standard combos and whatnot. You're going to find that all your different ways of maneuvering, with gliding or flying at different speeds, are all going to be essential for this battle. Anyway, what you have to do is occasionally guard his blade if you figure out it's going to hit you, but most of the time you can roll under his initial hit. One thing that you definitely need to watch out for in this first phase, particularly, is his triple fire column attack. It's called Stigma, and those will shoot up at certain points during this first phase. They may be a little bit difficult to track, but here's the basic idea. Every time that you go in to combo him, if you ever fail doing the combo like I did, like failing to complete the combo and make him disappear, he'll use that fire to defend himself. In addition to that, he'll occasionally use it about every 5 times he takes a standard swipe at you. So each time he's swinging his sword, you should really be counting each hit, that way you can be sure of when the next fire is going to appear. I thought he might have done it there because our blades kind of collided. Oh man, wow. I'm surprised he's not doing it right now. But he could do it at any moment like that. The reason you definitely want to be watching out for that is because the fire just does a titanic amount of damage. Even with these equips taken off, it doesn't quite... It's still a little bit unbalanced. Typically, it will take at least 2 to 3 hits for Sephiroth to do you in with just about any attack, which is why he's a pretty dangerous boss. So after you start whittling his health down, by the way, he has an invisible HP bar, in case you couldn't tell. We worked that one off a little while ago. But after you get it down to about this point, you're going to enter the second phase of the fight. He's eventually going to use that fire, and that triggers him into this phase, where he'll disappear, and then appear somewhere else using this attack called something, a Heartless Angel, I think. Whatever it is, if you let him cast that for 3 seconds, it'll immediately deplete all of your MP and HP down to 0, meaning that it will kill you instantly. If you have Second Chance equipped, you will have 1 HP remaining after he uses the attack, so absolutely have Second Chance for this battle. It's absolutely necessary. But the bottom line is you want to stop him from ever making sure it's casted, because if he manages to get that spell off on you and you just have 1 HP and no MP, you have no way of curing for when he rushes right up to you and hits you, and he's becomes a lot faster during this phase, as you can see, and he willingly goes after you, just rushing after you with his sword. He'll occasionally also sometimes just run at you and use that Stigma attack with the fire, and it's hard to tell exactly when that's going to be coming. Anyway, after you get off 2 successful combos on him like I have, he'll eventually use this attack, where the idea is you have to block each hit with your blade, guarding each one, to make sure you don't die, because it just does a ton of damage. They're all very difficult to time, but I find that it's easier to guard them than to dodge roll them, personally. Some people might prefer to try and dodge roll out of the way. I've never found success doing that. I just work off better timing with guard, honestly. This fight will definitely make you a master with guard, but because this is the strongest enemy in the game, in my opinion, really, there's no better place to be using guard anyway. So just keep, instead of tracking the times he's going to use Stigma during this phase, the bottom line is you want to track the time when he's going to use that multi-hitting slash attack, which is called, I believe it's called Omni Slash, but I'm not absolutely certain about that. There, he's going to be using it again, so guard. The next hit's is very hard to guard. And then the final hit is very hard to guard too. And that one was typically an insta-kill, or just due to the amount of raw damage it deals. Unless you, of course, have second chance, which I do, so in most cases it's not going to kill me. But the idea about that last hit is that if you find that you're on your last HP, that hit is the hardest to guard, in my personal opinion. So if you find you're on your last HP right before he goes down with that final hit, I would recommend curing instead of guarding, and just making sure that he knocks you back down to 1 HP after you've healed, because it's better to do that than to just outright die from getting hit by it. So that's my honest opinion on that Omni Slash attack. Anyway, you're going to get him eventually to this point where he's going to have his yellow HP bar going down. So just hit him a little bit more, and he's going to enter the third and final phase of the battle. You'll be able to tell when it begins because he's going to start glowing a little bit differently. And like I said, make sure you never let him get that Heartless Angel attack off. Just use Super Glide to get close to him if he's far away, which he is whenever you cast that, typically. Anyway, third phase begins. This is what many people believe to be his strongest attack. Some kind of meteor thing. I recommend having Arrow equipped for it just because it's very hard to dodge. You kind of want to run with the rocks around Sephiroth to dodge their individual collisions. However, they do all explode afterwards, damaging you, and then he shoots that giant energy ball, which does even more damage. So it's all in all a pretty devastating attack no matter what you do to try and avert most of the damage. And he's pretty ruthless during this phase. I recommend having Arrow up almost constantly, just due to the amount of damage he's going to be dishing out. I also recommend that this be the time you start bursting out with Ars Arcanum. He's going to have a lot of these Shadow Energy Balls, which don't do that much damage, but they just get in the way. This is also when you should really start using your elixirs. Of course, if you ever get hit by Heartless Angel, immediately use an elixir, because that'll bring back all your HP and MP. So Ars Arcanum is just ideal during this phase. For when he's using that Tornado Blade attack of his, that's a perfect time to be whacking him with Ars Arcanum. Because when he's in the Tornado Blade attack, he has to complete it, and he can't get out of it before finishing the attack. And typically, if he's just standing still, he's going to disappear before you can hit him with all your hits from Ars Arcanum. Ars Arcanum is also a great way to avoid taking damage from the Stigma, because it has actually a little bit of an invincibility frame. You're actually entirely invincible for the moment that you're using Ars Arcanum, which is why it's my preferred method of beating on him during this fight, just to take down his HP. Also, some people recommend using Strike Raid against him. I personally think that takes all the challenge out of the battle, as a matter of fact, because you can just hit him from anywhere at any time with Strike Raid, and be completely invincible while doing it. It just breaks the fight. Strike Raid is a really cheap strategy to be using against Sephiroth. If you're going to be using Strike Raid against Sephiroth, you might as well not be fighting him at all, that's my opinion. But Ars Arcanum is what I like to use on him. See, like that, we were able to hit him with just almost all the hits from Ars Arcanum right there, because he was using his Hurricane Blade. That Hurricane Blade is very hard to block or dodge under normal circumstances. And a couple other things you should be aware of during this final phase is that he can use a Heartless Angel attack, sometimes without even announcing it. He won't even say a word, he'll do it silently. He'll just appear and just do it out of nowhere, so you always have to be on your guard watching for him to use that attack. And the last thing of note is that sometimes he'll actually use that Omni Slash, where he makes everything go dark and then goes at you with his sword. Sometimes he'll do that combo twice in a row with no break. So I've absolutely had like zero luck, typically under normal circumstances, of facing that final phase. And because I was such a high level, I was able to do it. But at your standard level, he's near impossible to beat in that phase, in my opinion. That's just me speaking. But anyway, now you're going to see what's like when you're fighting with Ultimate Weapon and Ultimate Equips. the bottom line is, get the ultimate weapon and those ultimate equips, and you can sweep Sephiroth without even, blinking, really. He's not that hard at all if you have all that. And to be honest, actually, that recording that you saw right there was from the very first time that I went in to fight Sephiroth, on this file, just using the ultimate weapon and ultimate equips, and discovered that if I was to fight him that way, I wouldn't be able to show you exactly what he's capable of. That being said, we're finally done with Let's Play Kingdom Hearts. It's actually a little hard to believe. It took very long, and we've covered pretty much everything, so... well, there's no regrets, really. It's done. It was fun. I hope you enjoyed it. And there will be more LPs to come. So, see you then. Until then, arrivederci.